Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mind Matters, Navigating Head Injuries and Concussions. I'm your host, Kylie Como. I'm a legal nurse consultant here at Shane Smith Law, and today I'm speaking with Angela Leigh Tucker. Angela sustained a traumatic brain injury in a car crash on the New York State thoroughfare in 2008 that killed her newlywed husband. Angela still wrestles with issues such as double vision, neuro fatigue, and cognitive challenges such as memory, attention, and concentration issues. Since then, she's become a fierce advocate for brain injury. Some of her accomplishments include being a member of the Brain Injury Advisory Council for the Brain Injury Association of America and the Brain Injury Association of North Carolina. She served as chairwoman of the New York City chapter of the Brain Injury Association of New York State, is the subject of a book titled Me Now, Who Next? The Inspiring Story of a Traumatic Brain Injury Recovery, and contributed to the book Chicken Soup for the Soul, Recovering from Traumatic Brain Injuries. Angela, it's great to have you on the show with us today.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Mr. Como.
You're very welcome. So given the depth of the material and the information that we might cover, I think we can have a couple of discussions and make this a two-part interview for our audience. So make sure you come back and catch part two when we're done with this one. So let's jump in. I want to get to it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, for the first part of our conversation, I'd really, Angela, like to focus on kind of what you learned during your recovery, during the brain injury you sustained, and then provide some practical information to our audience who might be wrestling with those. So can you describe maybe the most difficult or frustrating challenges you faced after your brain injury and how you began to address them?
Ooh, Lord, don't we have a bunch of challenges and difficulties? Anyone who's living with a brain injury knows that life is new, life is different. And some of the challenges that I deal with is double vision because of third nerve palsy, that my eyes don't work together anymore. I'm wearing these fabulous mind-eye glasses that's helping to heal. I might have neuro fatigue. I gotta lay my inner child down for a nap every day, kicking and screaming. And I deal with a lot of memory challenges.
Yeah, those are significant. We've had several guests, fans of the show who followed us for a minute, have seen us interview a handful of TBI survivors, and you're definitely, singing a common song there. Very big barriers to overcome. So of all the tactics and approaches, we'll say, that you've tried to overcome or to start managing these sorts of challenges, what would you say your top most helpful strategies for recovery?
Well, truly for me, one of my biggest deficits is the neurofatigue. I used to be full blast 100 miles an hour all the time, and now I can't do it. So my biggest, most important strategy that I sometimes try to skip, and I don't really think I need it, but I always do, is a daily nap to help me manage the neurofatigue. And neurofatigue is, ooh, Lord, I love it when somebody says, oh, I get tired too. Mm-hmm. Or I wish I could nap. Neurofatigue puts me in jeopardy. It endangers my safety and my well-being because of my attention and my focus, and all the cognitive stuff gets really compromised if I don't just lie my inner child down, kicking and screaming, for about an hour nap. And you know what? I may not fall asleep, but I put a sleep mask on and I wear it for an hour. And my mind might be going, but I'm still reclined. And so I do a daily nap. That's really important. Double vision, as I mentioned, I'm a patient of the Mind-Eye Institute. Dr. Deborah Zielinski is the bomb. They're based in Northbrook, Illinois, and they've got really cutting edge equipment, and these glasses have prisms and filters, and this is my 7th pair of brainwear glasses, and the idea is that I wear each pair for about 6 months to a year, and I'm rehabbing, and I wish you could see what my eyes used to look like. Because of the third nerve palsy, this eye always looked like I was drinking, and was kind of droopy, and that's visibly improved. If you live with vision disturbances, don't give up, because there are answers and solutions. Look, I looked everywhere in Nashville. There are some lovely optometrists in the area, don't get me wrong, but I attended a virtual vision disturbances conference, and I interviewed 5 major, like Los Angeles, and I did what I could to find the best, and not everyone will have access to that level of care, and I understand that, but don't give up. The cards that you were dealt, that hand, the bad hand, you can play it better if you could. And then for memory challenges, shoot, I take notes all the time. I have an iPhone. It's my memory device, and so
Yeah.
I'm talking to it all day long. In fact, my husband sometimes when I'll call my husband, he doesn't know that I'm calling him because I'm always in dialogue connection with my phone. So Augustus, really, I'm talking to you. Oh, okay. You're not talking to your phone. You're talking to me. Oh, okay. So I'm making notes on my phone all the time. In fact, everyone I meet, not everybody, but a lot of folks I add to my contacts. If I can just go into one of the strategies, the note-taking strategies, is I add, their vital information,
Mhm.
numbers, addresses, and then on every contact in this page, in the notes section, I add a little the date that I met them,
Yeah.
what happened on that date, and some of them are quite extensive because some notes of friends that I've had for years, but and so I
Great.
find it to be a very helpful technique to strategy to managing conversations because I can't remember diddly squat, but my notes can, and I'll often refer to them during conversations. Like, well, just one second, I think I have an answer for you. So that's one way that I deal with memory challenges.
Those are excellent. I mean, I use the Notes app a ton in my phone, and I kind of do some similar things with my contacts because I too have some difficulty remembering people's names and where I met them, but I didn't suffer a traumatic brain injury. I don't know what that says about me, but that I'm with you on that.
You're human.
Right. That's true. I've been told. So I love that. So apps
Another
too.
thing that I, ooh, Lord, every day the night before, I look at my calendar because it's fairly robust. Even though I
Mhm.
don't have a job, I'm a full-time advocate, you could say, for those living with brain injury. Every morning, every night when I climb into bed, I set alarms because each day looks different. And so each day, some of them are prayer alarms. Some I get they're all
That's a lot.
that's just
I
today.
thought I
That's
had
just
a
today.
lot.
There's a Shane Law alarm on. So I find because I don't have a 9 to 5, a desk job, my days are very flexible and different. Every day is a little different. So it's challenging for me to keep track of what's on the docket. So setting alarms provides me an audio cue of, oh hey, I give myself like a 15 or 30 minute heads up, like, hey, you've got this interview coming up. So that's a trick that I use all the time.
Those are fantastic tools, strategies, habit building things. I love those. I think some of our listeners, I hope we're taking their own notes because I think those are easily applicable.
Is
Yes,
this being recorded? Okay, so if you didn't take the notes, that's okay. You can come
that's
back to it
true.
later.
That is a good point. Yeah, I guess you can rewatch it. So see, there you go.
Mhm.
I love that. And that was going to be my next question, was talking about daily routines or habits or tools. I'd also like to know
Mhm.
about, because what we hear so often, from not just our TBI survivors we've had on the show, but our providers that help people, shepherd people through these trying times, if you will. We talk a lot about the recovery team, right? It's not just an individual or a provider. How did you build your care
Great.
or recovery team, and
My
what
goodness.
helped you, get on the right
Great
people?
question.
Yeah, I'd
Great
love to hear it.
question. And I'm very in my case, I'm extremely blessed and very unique and lucky. My
Mm,
bonus mom, my dad remarried. Her name is Mary Wall Tucker, and she's a very respected nurse practitioner in Hendersonville, North Carolina. And I have her championing and the captain of my recovery team, and it's a team as you indicated. So she found all the resources, she did all the phone calls, and got me into care partners and got my therapy set up and got my doctor set up. So I'm immensely grateful to my bonus mom for all the work and effort that she did, and also my bonus sister, Mare. She drove from California cross country to move in to my dad's house where I was living for about a year and a half recovering. And she's a talented Pilates instructor, and so she's now a professor at a university, dance professor. But anyway,
mhm,
she worked with me hands-on, one-on-one, providing exercises and techniques. But you indicated, what does your day look like? And
mhm.
as I mentioned earlier, every day is different, but every start to my day is the same. And what works for me is every morning I meditate for about 10 minutes. And because my mind's scrambled and so full, I benefit most from a guided meditation. I use the Daily Calm, And I've done hundreds of meditations on there. Now I'm on the Daily J, Daily Calm, the Daily Trip. But for 10 minutes starting my morning, I like to have my coffee beside me and do a little meditation on the porch downstairs. I also am totally addicted to, have you ever heard of Lumosity.com?
I have not. What's that?
I'm a little nervous. It's a website that I found early in the beginning of my days, and it measures brain performance. And I had a BPI, brain performance index, of like 200. And I don't know where it is now. But the games are specifically scientifically designed to help gamers improve memory, concentration, speed. I mean, it's so addictive. I play that every morning, usually about 30 minutes after my coffee and after I've meditated. Okay. And then I look at my alarms and get going with my day. But I do find that energizing and stimulating the cognition early in the morning to get the juices flowing with that coffee is what works for me.
Yeah, and I think you hit on an important piece, and again, pulling on a common thread. It's very individual. Is brain injury recovery, right? And you've got to find your own rhythm. You've got to create your own team. You've got to find your own lane, if you will, that's going to lead to success. So I'm glad you have given so many great tools. You've touched on you talking about some of the cognitive therapies. You mentioned I think your sister-in-law said you kind of did some physical therapy. That's important. We hear a lot about that. We have on providers like integrative neurologists, chiropractors, physical therapists, nutrition also. Were there any particular therapies that made a real difference for you early on? And what advice would you give to others who are exploring their options?
I didn't even know of this particular therapy, but when I moved back to New York City, I was in vestibular therapy. What's this? I didn't know. In vestibular therapy, when I returned to New York City, I was in therapy, outpatient therapy at NYU Langone, Rusk, for like 4 or 5 days a week. It was a full-time job. And that's one thing that I'd like to share with this audience is our jobs now, full-time healing. When I moved in with Mary, my bonus mom, Mary Wall, she said your full-time job is to heal. Like that's what we're focused on. Because at the time of the crash, I was a vice president of a public relations firm in Manhattan. Yeah. I was wheeling and dealing. I was managing a talented team of executives, big budgets. And now, afterwards, I would get lost on the subway. I would sleep more, get confused more regularly. So my full-time job, and all of us, I encourage all of us to shift and focus on healing.
I was kind of wondering, if you had any particular, early on especially, therapies that, or practitioners that really helped you out, disciplines, if you will.
Thank you.
That you kind of gravitated towards, and if you had any advice for people trying to explore options, because there are, as you've mentioned, there are myriad of options.
Yes, and some of the options that you mentioned I haven't tried, and so that's exciting. Yeah. So vestibular therapy wasn't even on my radar until I moved back to New York City. Speech therapy, huge, and then speech therapy, group cognitive remediation. We had a note-taking system, like taking a tally of who was in attendance or who was here, what we'd be working on together. I still have that notebook. So cognitive remediation was also a great way to relearn how to socialize. I mean, goodness, right after the brain injury, it was kind of all about me, myself, and I. And I had a hard time not thinking and being consumed and concerned only about myself, and thinking about those that I'm in the room with and sharing the microphone with others. So group cognitive remediation was awesome. And I got to tell you, the best therapist that I still work with today, we usually work together 2 hours a week, but during the summer we've switched to a summer schedule. But my cognitive coach, she's based in New York City. We connect virtually for 2 hours, and woo, Lord, she allows me to design the schedule for each day and what my goals are and what my priorities might be. It's totally based on my notes and needs, but she knows brain injury so well. Francesca can design strategies and techniques and tools. Most of the tools I I still live with today, like a wall calendar. Whew. I have a 2-month wall calendar, and it helps my husband and I to sort of manage our full schedules,
Mhm.
and just be on the same page of what's happening. In therapies, if you've maxed out, because for me, it boiled down to I maxed out on my insurance eligibility. I was
Yeah.
no longer able to be outpatient in,
Mhm.
in a respected medical facility in New York City. So I had to start exploring options elsewhere. I returned to the physical therapist that I had when I first began here, Pisgah Physical Therapy in Hendersonville, because in January I had a hip replacement. What?
Oh,
And so I had to relearn how to walk again. And so I was glad to go back to my friends at Pisgah because they're amazing. But if you are no longer have access to the traditional therapies that are insurance covered, I encourage you to explore and cast the net and see what you can find.
I think that's a good point that doesn't often get mentioned. There is a finite amount of capacity in people's health insurance, if people even have health insurance. There are those that
That's
don't.
right.
So
That's
I think
right.
that's a
That's right.
great point you bring up.
That's right.
And I think
And
you're
the
right.
thing is if you're not sure of something or if you're unaware, one of my strategies is I would seek guidance, ask questions, ask a lot of questions through the legal process, through the recovery process, through the therapy, the rehabilitation. Ask a lot of questions all along the way. And if you can take notes, that'd be helpful. But because we don't know what we don't know. And by asking as many questions as we can during the process helps us and our if you have an important meeting, whether it be an attorney, medical, whatever point, I would always try to bring someone with me who could help me get the notes and capture to just be my backup cognitive memory for
Yeah.
me, just in case I'm unable to attain all that information. So if you've got a big meeting up ahead, bring somebody with you.
Never a bad idea. Man, we're on the same page, I believe, mentally here, because you start talking about asking questions, and what I'd like to know, and we hear again frequently, is asking for help is difficult. So asking questions is one thing, but asking for somebody to help you just mentioned bringing a partner along if you can. What would you say to somebody who feels hesitant about reaching out for support?
Why are you hesitant for reaching out for support? Why?
Mhm.
Why? I don't understand. I ask for help all the time. I mean, my very earliest days, I was
Mhm.
asking so many people for help all around me. I went from being a VP to being the one to give the answers
Yeah.
to being a widow with a traumatic brain injury, seeking the answers.
Again, it goes back to what we said about it's an individual process. I think for some people it is hard to ask for help because they may
Yeah.
have fear of looking silly or feeling like they look silly or being
Mm-mm,
abandoned, which
mm-mm.
is usually irrational, but some
Don't
of
be
us
too proud.
don't.
Don't be so proud. You
Exactly.
don't need, come on. In my opinion, in my assessment, when I see out in the open in a restaurant or in a meeting, someone
Mhm.
ask a question, that to me looks like intelligence. That to me looks like someone wants to seek more clarity.
I think that's a good way to frame it. I agree. I think people that ask questions, show a desire to want to know more, and how is that a bad thing? So, and especially if you
Right.
need something. So it's just
Right.
getting over those inhibitions. So I definitely appreciate that. The last thing I think I'd like to know for our listeners, if you could look back, and is there a singular like aha moment for you that in your recovery that lets you know what, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be okay. Things are going to be better than they were, or whatnot, or what encouragement or advice might you give somebody who's starting out? And when did you feel like you were getting back to normal? What was it that did that for you? Or did you ever?
That's a dirty word.
Right?
Mr. Como, normal is a dirty word.
Let's hear it.
When I returned to feeling like Angela, okay, so my analogy is this. On July 31st, today, 2008, 17 years ago, today,
Okay.
my husband Rich and I were leaving a Yankees baseball game on the New York State Thruway. And we were struck by an 18-wheeler that jackknifed over a concrete divide and crashed into us. 6 weeks later, I woke up at Westchester Medical Center and learned that my husband was killed in the crash. We would have celebrated our first wedding anniversary while I was in the coma.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That night, Angela 1 died. And Angela 2 was airlifted to one of the best medical facilities in America. And Angela 1 and 2 are very different people, still to this day. Angela 1, as I mentioned, was a VP, wheeling and dealing at the top of her game, new homeowner. Angela 2 would get lost in the subway and sleep a lot more. But understanding these two versions of myself allows me to wholly love and inhabit Angela 2. In some ways, I treated, I don't mean to sound morbid, but for me, what worked is I needed to treat it like a funeral. Like Angela 1, those shoes don't fit anymore. I can't wear those high heels anymore. And by allowing that finality, it's allowed me to stop trying to put those shoes back on. I'm no longer haunted by what Angela 1 was in the projection for. I mean, I was just gotten married. I was, going to build a family. You just got a house. I'm on a new trajectory, entirely new trajectory, and it's awesome. Since I put Angela 1 to bed, and I just am not pursuing that path anymore. I can't.
Yes, I think that's a great way to put a period on this part of the conversation. Again, we're going to come back. We have more to talk about. We're going to get more into Angela 1 and Angela 2. And I'd be remiss if I did not say what I think a beautiful and appropriate way for us to come together. For us, the first time we've met and spoken is on this day, as you mentioned.
My 17th rebirth day.
Yes. And we appreciate you taking the time to spend with us and our audience to tell your story. It's been amazing.
I really appreciate y'all allowing me to set this up on this day. I'm so grateful. Thank you for allowing me to share my story with y'all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Mind Matters, Navigating Head Injuries and Concussions. Once again, I'd like to thank today's guest, Angela Leigh Tucker, for joining us today and sharing her knowledge, her expertise, and her passion with us. You can find more about Angela's journey as well as links to her books and upcoming events at angelaleetucker.com and on LinkedIn. I hope that our audience has enjoyed this enlightening discussion and is leaving with a real appreciation of recovering, living, and thriving with TBI. Oh, yeah, come on.
And that's Leigh, ANGELALEIGH, Tucker, TUCKER.com.
That's right, because it's not LE. Thank you. You're right.
Thanks.
Yes, Ms. Tucker. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Keep up with our latest and greatest content like this, and leave us a comment below to add to today's discussion. And as always, remember, if you're in pain, call Shane at 980-999-9999. We'll see you next time.
In pain, so I call Shane. 980-999-9999. In pain, call Shane.